welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for clicking on today's video. We have to talk about the major gas shortages that are happening throughout the East Coast right now, and what are the long-term effects of this. What does this mean moving forward if, the entire East Coast and a major pipeline like this can be hacked into through weak cybersecurity? What does this mean in the future? Because the old America, with a different administration, in my opinion, would not allow this to happen. But unfortunately, we live in a time period where an election can be stolen. The man in office now can make a lot of excuses for a lot of the things that he's allowed. All right, higher taxes, inflation, this gas shortage, border crisis, all these different things are happening with this new administration. And instead of taking accountability and responsibility for any of his actions, he's deflecting this and putting it back on the American people, or making an excuse, blaming the man with the orange hair that was in office before him. And we have to talk about the long-term ramifications of this gas shortage, all right? Because if this can happen so easily, imagine the future and what this administration is trying to push when it comes to electric vehicles and limiting American citizens to one meal with red meat a week, or you'll be taxed more on that meat. All these new programs and feel-good stuff to tax the American people to make you pay more money to the IRS, to the feds, to them, to the people that be behind the scenes pulling the strings. So you guys saw that clip with all those cars lined up, just wrapped around, snaking around all these gas stations. This is going on. If you don't live in the East Coast, this is going on right now in the East Coast. And as we can see from this article here from Business Insider, more than 1,000 gas stations ran dry with massive lines after a cyber attack knocked the crucial fuel pipeline to the East Coast. Gas stations across the US are running out in the wake of a crippling cyber attack. The Colonial Pipeline that supplies the East Coast has been down since it was hacked last week. 60% of gas stations in Atlanta were out, one analyst said, and 25% across North Carolina. More than 1,000 gas stations in eastern U.S. states ran out of gasoline after a cyber attack knocked out a crucial U.S. pipeline that supplies much of the region's gasoline. Price rises and panic buying followed the news, which led to widespread shortages as operators struggled to move fuel supplies without the out-of-action Colonial Pipeline. According to data from the app GasBuddy, as early as Wednesday, the worst hit states were North Carolina, where 24.8% of gas stations were out of gas, Georgia, where 15.4% were empty, and Virginia, where 15% had run out. There were acute shortages in Atlanta, where almost 60% of stations were out of gas Wednesday morning. 60%, guys. Charlotte, where the figure was 71%, and Raleigh, where it was 72%. The extent of shortages had worsened since the previous night. The figures were tweeted by Patrick D. Hahn, a petroleum analyst with GasBuddy. So if you want to look at these right here, these are the percentages of gas stations that were out of gas by state. Okay, so you can check that out there. So moving forward, what does this mean? Because what we can see here is just absolute panic, and a lot of American people, weren't expecting this to happen. I mean, some people have been storing up oil tanks for a while now, but this just shows you that, the times that we're living in are very uncertain, and you have to be able to be self-sufficient, number one, and realize that you aren't in control of what goes on behind the scenes. And in my opinion, this is just part of the push, or the beginning stages of the push for the use of electric vehicles only in the United States. And if you decide to have a car, you won't have gas for it. And this is the beginning stages of it. They're going to tax you higher if you do have a car in the future that runs on oil and gas, because they want to push electric vehicles to American citizens. Here in California, where I live, by the year 2030, if you do not have an electric vehicle, your taxes are going to absolutely skyrocket, and you will be paying an additional tax each year just for driving a car that's not electric. We also have to consider the amount of people's jobs are at risk because they're unable to fill up their cars for commuting, for transportation to get to work, because these gas stations are now just packed with cars that are trying to get gas, that are trying to stock up on gas, and some gas stations don't even have gas. So if you live in a certain area that doesn't have gas, you can't go to work necessarily. But obviously we're trying to move to more of a remote working space, which is why we've seen like Zoom and different ways of communication over the web for a career start to take off. So that's what they're trying to push as well as the electric vehicles. But this is really going to mess with people's mental health, because you have to think about, we were just in lockdown for a while, and people want to get out, people want to travel, people want to go places. They don't want to be inside just locked down for the next year or so again. They want to get out, they want to travel, they want to socialize. But now that we're out of gas and there's a shortage of it, you know, a lot of people aren't going to be able to travel the way they used to. They're not going to be able to go and do things that they wanted to do. And this is going to create more panic, more mental illness. A lot of people are going to feel like they are trapped because they can't go anywhere, because they can't drive, because they can't get gas. So I'm wondering, what are the long-term effects of this? I wouldn't be surprised if the rates of depression were to go up if this continues. But this gas shortage, and don't let the administration tell you it's not a big deal, this is a very big deal. The fact that the Colonial Pipeline was hacked is a big deal. And for this administration to sweep it under the rug and make excuses for it just shows you the type of times we're living in. This is a very serious issue and it needs to be addressed. And I hope you guys take your time to really do your research and really prepare for what is to come, and understand at any moment the government can take away gas like that, take away whatever they want like that, because they have full control and you don't. Okay, you have to realize that is the game, that is the world we live in. If they want something to change, they can make it happen, and you really have no say. So I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on the gas shortage. Let me know what you think. Until next time, have a blessed rest of your day. Peace. I'm out. Have a good one.